This is Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry. And now, here's your host, healthcare benefits industry expert and the originator of the transparent health benefits movement, Lester Morales.
Welcome to an episode, a very special episode of the Impact Healthcare podcast. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this is Lester Morales, the host, and I'm recording this after what I'm about to talk about. And what I'm about to talk about is, again, making this a very unique episode. And this is an episode introducing one of the things that I am most proud about in my career, which is the launch of Rosen Health. Now, for those of you who are tuning in who have never heard of Harris Rosen or Rosen Hotels and Resorts, I want you to spend a couple minutes. You might go down a rabbit hole and spend a couple of hours and investigate who is Harris Rosen, who is Rosen Hotels. Harris Rosen, over 30 years ago, a hotel back then pioneer who was buying hotels, employing employees, and was one of the first of his kind to really correlate that the better we treat our employees, the better they treat our guests. The better they treat our guests, the better our business runs. And part of that treating was not only him rolling up his sleeves and getting dirty. The stories that I've heard were all about Mr. Rosen planting, digging a ditch and planting things along with the landscaping crew, checking people in, making sure that when he heard somebody needed napkins, he was going to get the guest napkins, making sure that he understood people's names and giving everybody a hug. A man who grew up in the poor side of New York, down in Florida, whose average employee is Latino-based, is Haitian-based, is somebody who might be coming from another country, somebody who is making beds, somebody who is kind of the salt of the earth. And here you are, Mr. Harris Rosen, giving them hugs, sitting right next to them, working alongside of them, who, as a businessman one day, like many of you listeners, whether you're an employer or an advisor, it's renewal season. And renewal season comes with typically grim reaper news. Your costs continue to go up. And when Mr. Rosen, who, by the way, when you think about it from a business angle, negotiates everything inside of his business, right? From the tablecloths to the napkins to the forks to the knives to everything, has a supply chain that he manages, vendors that he controls their costs. But when it came to healthcare, he felt helpless. He would ask the questions like many of you probably have. Again, whether you're an advisor who asks the questions on behalf of your client, or whether you're an employer who's managing a health benefits program for your employees, you've probably asked, why do my costs keep going up? And you're always told these ambiguous, nefarious answers. Well, Mr. Rosen was told, well, although your claims ran well, the pool that you're in didn't run so well. And the response Mr. Rosen had, an actual swimmer in college says, I don't want to be in that pool. Get me out of that pool. If that pool's running dirty, I want to be in a clean pool. And so that was the day over 30 years ago that he started down the path of taking control of his own healthcare program. And over those 30 years, they have one of the most renowned industry case study health benefits programs that's created results beyond his wildest imagination. Not only over $500 million of savings, but the impact to the business. His employees never really pay more than $20, $30 out of their paycheck. They have free healthcare on site. If they don't have a car, they need to get to the health center. They actually get a ride on the clock from another employee, taking them to get free healthcare. Their healthcare centers full with people who really care, pushing their way on to making sure that people are managing their health, because a healthier employee is a happier employee, does a better job at work, likes their job, and creates more of an impact for their guests, which creates more value for the organization. That more value is seen across the board. They have industry low turnover. They have tenure, crazy tenure especially for a hospitality retail type of group. They've got an experience mod on the workers' comp that's like on the floor, minuscule low. And all of this because, again, it starts with a people-centric approach. So over the years, Mr. Rosen has wanted to wonder, why are more employers doing this? And so they've been over the years trying to figure out how they get this to other employers, share what has created such a value inside of their own organization. And last year, I was able and fortunate to meet the team who says to me, where you're out there helping advisors and employers across the country, how can we do it? Because we have figured out the secret sauce. And through a year worth of whiteboarding sessions about what are the integral details of ensuring that every employer can do this themselves, not 5,000, 6,000 lives of Rosen Hotels, but 10, 15, 20 lives. Your normal everyday 100, 200, the salt of the earth, the bread and butter of every community, because community is what gets impact when you take care of the health of the population. And Mr. Rosen, through that $500 million of savings, has adopted parts of Orlando, Tangelo Park, where every family gets childcare. Every student who graduates high school gets their secondary school, their college, their trade school paid for. Resources are provided for the community. The community is turned into barely graduating anybody in high crime to a safe place where 90% of people are graduating, going on and creating more of an impact and making something of their lives. And this started because of one man's vision. So today I wanted to have this episode be a tribute to Harris Rosen, and I wanted you, our audience, to be able to learn what's possible. So from here, whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're hearing the audio only, you're going to see in the show notes the ability to click and watch the replay from the live cast of our launch of RosenHealth. RosenHealth is something that every employer, every advisor across the country can tap into. From 10, 25 lives all the way up. Blue collar, red collar, blue collar, green collar, yellow color, it doesn't matter. And what you'll see is passion. What you'll see is proof is in the pudding. You're going to hear from advisors who are creating plans that have these Rosen strategies already. You're going to hear from employers who are doing this and the impact that it's had not only on their cost, but more importantly on their people, on their talent. And you're going to hear from healthcare providers on why, when you align health care and health insurance, and yes, they are different, magic. So you're going to have an opportunity to click in the show notes and watch this if you're watching this on screen. And if you're walking the dog, or you're in your car and you can only listen to this, after this, you will heal the launch of RosenHealth. My call to action to you is share this. Without education, we're never going to get this in the hands of all of the people that can make impact to their neighbor, to their community, to their employer. And if you want to have a conversation, write us. We'll be able to have a conversation about how you, whether you're an HR professional, whether you're a CFO, a CEO, or whether you work in an organization that offers you benefits and you're like, man, my benefits doesn't work like that. I want that. Let us know. Let us know how we can help, because Again, only together are we going to change what is such a mess today, the health care industry and the health insurance. And so I'm going to leave you with the quote that I left everybody live. It comes from our buddy Peter Parker, Spider-Man. It says, with great power comes great responsibility. And in this conversation, knowledge is power. And after you listen to this, you will have the knowledge to know that you don't have to continue the definition of insanity, continuing to think that the normal insurance companies or the government are going to come in and save us and do this. It's not going to happen. We need to build a tribe. We need to build a community. And now that you've heard this, you have the power. You have the responsibility to impact health care. Thanks so much for listening to this. Let me know what you think. Download it, share it, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Welcome, and thank you all for being here today. My name's Ashley Bacot. I'm a health plan architect with RosenHealth. I've been with Rosen Hotels for 25 years. I see a lot of existing partners that we have in the crowd today. Thank you for being here. And it is our sincere hope that the rest of you will become our future partners. But thank you for being here. 33 years ago started a journey which led us here today, a healthcare program that's a fraction of what our peers pay and provides top quality care and convenient care. It all started, again, about 33 years ago. Mr. Rosen was meeting with our insurance company and was expecting a reduction in premium because our claims were so much lower than our premiums were. And much to his surprise, there was an increase in premium. And Mr. Rosen said, "Why?" And the company said that that we performed well, but the group that we were in did not perform well. And Mr. Rosen said, "I didn't know I was in a group. I didn't know I was in this pool. I don't want to be in the pool." And they said, "Well, that's kind of how the system works. You have to be in the pool." And he said, "No, I'm out." And so we became self-insured. We opened our on-site medical center. We did direct contracts with providers and hospitals in the area, and that's what led us to where we are today. It's our goal to get this into the hands of the millions of Americans that just really need affordable health care. A lot of people who have an insurance policy think that they have affordable care, and when they finally need to have some work done and they find out how large their deductible is and their out-of-pocket is and all these high copays, they find out that maybe I really don't have insurance. So none of this would be possible without the vision of Harris Rosen and the culture that he has built at Rosen Hotels and Resorts. It's a culture that encourages associates to take risks and to bring forth ideas to make things better for not only our fellow associates and our company, but for the community at large. One thing that you don't hear uttered around Rosen Hotels is it's not my job. We're all in it together. All departments played a role in the success of just Rosen Hotels in general, and specifically about what we're talking about today, not the least of which is our Human Resources Department. This is a magical place where our associates resolve any needs that they have, and who helps our associates navigate our healthcare model and just get the most efficient use out of it. And this is the department that's largely responsible for a turnover rate that's one of the lowest in our industry. Our model evolved over time, but the primary theme is focused on prevention and removing barriers to care. So we have zero deductibles, zero coinsurance, 90% of our drugs are zero copay. We've saved well over $500 million in our journey, which has allowed us to give back to the community. Many of us with our health plans, a lot of that money ends up going to Wall Street. we prefer to keep all of that in our community. It makes us all better. And you know, that's one of the big values that I think you one day and we certainly get out of our program. But that money that we've saved has allowed Mr. Rosen to adopt neighborhoods such as Tangelo Park and Paramore, where all 2-, 3-, and 4-year-olds have their preschool taken care of, paid for by Mr. Rosen. And we tutor, it's much more than this, but I'm going to give you the cliff notes. We tutor them through K through 12 if they need it, and then when they graduate, which virtually all, I believe 100% graduate high school, Mr. Rosen pays for their college education. So with no further ado, the man that made it happen, Harris Rosen. And Jennifer Rice Palmer will be joining him on stage.
No, don't. First of all, I just want to welcome you all to Rosen Shingle Creek, a nice little hotel. Yes? Thank you all for being here. I just have about 30 seconds. You have to keep me honest because my memory is evaporating. I'm almost 85 and my memory is gone. But I do remember about 33 years ago, I was absolutely fed up with our healthcare program. It was terrible. Terrible. Too expensive and lousy care. And so I mentioned to some of our associates that we were going to do our own. They said, I won't repeat the exact words, are you crazy? I said, yes, but we're going to do it ourselves. They said, how can you do it? I said, watch. It was a struggle, but we did it. That was 33 years ago. Keep me honest, in the 33 years, I think we've saved about $540 million. When you compare our cost per covered life with the cost per covered life nationally. That's not small change. If you extrapolate that to the United States of America, the numbers are staggering. And so at this point in time, and we've been able to convince some people, and they are the happiest people in the world, to adopt Rosen Care. The cost for all of their associates are way down, and the quality of care has improved dramatically. And that's where we are today, and we've shared that with a few people, and they've been incredibly happy and successful. Our goal now is to expand this program, this Rosen Care program, throughout America. Millions and millions of people, let me use a bad word, are getting screwed. They're paying too much, and they're getting lousy service. We can change that. So my hope and my prayer is that we'll all work together, and more people will hop on board, have quality care at low cost. God bless you all.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Rice Palmer, and I just want to reiterate the words of Ashley and Mr. Rosen, and thank you all for being here today. I did want to remind you all of a few things. Today's event is being recorded, but we would love to see you guys also be posting things out on social media with our hashtags RosenHealth or hashtag Transforming Healthcare Together. There is instruction for the Wi-Fi on all the tables if you need it. And you know, we have a theme for today, and it starts with legacy. And I'm fortunate, for 32 years, I've been able to watch the legacy of Mr. Harris Rosen and of this company and where we have transformed not only the lives of our associates, but of our community around us. Innovation is the second piece of the theme today. And what you're all here today to experience is the innovation that we have had within healthcare. And the last piece of it is impact. And with the piece of impact, I want to bring up and introduce Mr. Lester Morales, who is the CEO and founder of Next Impact and your MC for today. Thank you again. Thank you, Lester.
Good morning. So I will be probably one of your most non-conventional speakers that you will see. I'm going to make sure that we have a significant amount of energy in this. And I've got a couple questions. I need everybody to stand up if you or someone that you know has ever filed bankruptcy or had money issues because of healthcare. I need you to stand up. I need these people to be standing. And if you or someone that you've ever heard of has been confused or struggled with the access to care, understanding what it is that they do, if you've heard somebody talk about how confusing it is, I need you to stand up. I need everybody to look around. Most everybody in this room is standing up. Is that what was intended? Is that what employers that are standing in this room, is that what you intended on probably your second or third largest expense item? So I have a little bit of a call to action, a pledge, if you will. I want this event to be the first of a cascade of energetic motion that goes to changing. So I need everybody to follow along in my pledge. I state your name. No, not state your name. State your name. Promise to be part of the movement to change healthcare in America. So help me God. All right, guys, you can sit down. So the reason I talk about this story, and I hope that everybody saw, this isn't a couple of people. There's nearly 100 people sitting in this room. And most everybody was standing up that they had someone that they knew, some story to tell. And so I always like starting these with my own story. This is me and my dad. My dad, when I was 16 years old, it was the day after my brother, who's sitting right here, left for boot camp. I'll never forget it. Back then, answer machines, for you younger folk, an answer machine is something that was in, had a cassette inside of it. The answer machine, and I raced home, I beat my parents home, I checked the button, and I heard the worst message that I didn't understand. My dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. Now, as a young boy, you kind of don't know what that is. For those of you that don't know, that is cancer of your bone marrow. So my dad had a bone marrow transplant, chemo, radiation, and for 3 years, basically lived here at the Moffitt Cancer Center. Now, I remember we were born in Puerto Rico, so my parents and my aunt and uncle, who are also sitting here, brought us to the States. And I remember that American dream, right? That, hey, you come here and you can do anything. And both of my parents worked. My mom worked for the VA hospital. My dad worked for Chase Bank. They both had insurance. But when you have a family deductible of $6,000, $8,000, you have a out-of-pocket max of $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, a lot of which if you turned your ID card around and looked at your insurance program, this is what is happening today. But what family has $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, $18,000 extra after you're trying to send your kids to baseball camp and for us, put Air Jordans on their feet and Z Cavaricis on their heinies? So the reality for us is, I remember thinking, we got insurance, so it doesn't matter. We're okay. Which is the unfortunate lie that is in healthcare today, because the reality of it is, my parents had to file bankruptcy. Now, I remember I didn't understand what that meant. We didn't lose our house. But But I'm also thinking, well, wait a second, we don't take extravagant vacations. We don't spend money frivolously. This is just normal expenses of trying to keep a loved one alive. So the reality of the story, it changes for me. So I dedicate my entire career to health insurance. I got my degree in risk management insurance from Florida State University, go Noles. I do this my entire career the normal way until this woman. And I've never told this story in front of my family, so I might cry. This is my mom. How many mama's boys are there in the audience? You should all raise your hand, by the way, okay? My mom was my hero. She was my motivator. Mom worked for the federal government. She was a nurse, so we would always talk a lot of times about how to change healthcare. Why is it the way it is? And I remember getting that call. Mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now, I didn't know what that was. I Googled it. The worst Google search I have ever had. 3.5 months is the life expectancy on average of someone diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I remember at that point when my brother and I are both kind of in the industry. We know enough healthcare. We've both been working, so we had a couple of bucks. I'm like, I want to send my mom to the very best place. But at the end of the day, all we were getting was advice of what's in Tampa, what is here. There wasn't anything that was telling us where to go. It was a confusing thing for 3 people out of 4 people in a family that is actually in this business. And I remember at that point, for me, I realized that I was part of the problem. And if you've ever had a Latin mom, and I see some Puerto Ricans in the room, they don't mince words. So my mom says to me, stop being a wuss. You need to go do this. So I've dedicated the rest of my career to fixing healthcare. And what's really interesting is it all starts with this definition. So I want you to read the definition of our buddy Albert Einstein that says, continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And then I want you to take your own life cycle of how, whether you're an employer, whether you're an advisor, whether you're just somebody who accesses healthcare, and think of the way and the things that we do. When we access healthcare and deal with health insurance, and ask yourself, how has that changed? If you're a health insurance advisor, this will sound funny. If you're an HR director in the room, a CFO, you get a bad renewal. You shop it to the same 3 to 4 carriers, none of which who have a vested interest to actually save anybody money. You change deductibles, you add more co-pays, out-of-pockets, you take more out of people's paychecks, and then as benefits professionals, and I see some in the back, we stand in front of employees trying to get them super excited to pay more money for a crappier plan. And we do that rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And so today is all about the opportunity of changing that paradigm, which we are launching off of the back of, and if you don't get fired up by hearing Mr. Rosen's conversation, I mean, hey, let's take on healthcare. I don't know, $1 trillion business, 20% of our GDP almost. So today is all about a conversation. It is the beginning part of a conversation of taking what has already been built and building upon it. The second part of this conversation, so we talked about legacy, right? And man, I have spent more nights in the last 6 months in a Rosen property than I have before that. And from the front desk person checking you in to, I mean, security to everybody here likes working here. And I want everybody to kind of think through that conversation, because at the end of the day, there is not a person who is running a business, has any influential role inside of a business that doesn't say that talent, recruiting it and retaining it is the number one challenge, goal, objective, whichever way you want to look at it, half full, half empty, it doesn't matter. The number one challenge that every organization, would you agree? And so when you think that benefits, and I've heard Ashley talk about this, is There's a lot of times, a lot of conversations says there's nothing we can do about it, and it's just something to check the box. And so I'm going to ask everybody on this innovation conversation, you're going to hear things today. You're going to hear strategies, you're going to hear stories, you're going to hear things that you've never heard of. And so normally, if this was a smaller room, I would have you take off your shoes. And I'd throw them in the middle, and I'd ask you to walk into this room and walk into this conversation with a scenario that says, I'm going to forget about what it is that I've ever known about what it is to have a health insurance, a health benefits, to access health care, because the stories that you are going to hear today, the results that you're going to see, and you're going to hear from panelists that are employers, that are advisors, that are healthcare providers, you're going to hear things and you're going to be like, wait a second, I've never heard that before. That's actually happening? Oh, we can't do that. That's not for us. And again, I'm going to ask you to keep that open mind, that thought process. And the last word, impact. This is quite possibly my favorite word. It's why my company is called Next Impact. And it was interesting. I'd actually never looked up the definition of impact. Having a strong effect on something or someone. And when we think about the connection, right? And it wasn't until you get on what I call the good side of the business, right? I think of my first 15 years of my career were on the bad side of the business. And my last 7, I know I don't look that old, have been on the good side of the business. And when I think about that, I think that word impact. So when you get on this side of the business, the first story you hear about somebody, some way, taking a different road, impacting people is Rosen. It's like the rite of passage. You can't be on this side of the business and not hear about what Rosen has done with their own employees. So I want to have that triangle, and I want you to think about this triangle. So when we talk about health insurance, health benefits, which, by the way, if you're an organization out here that offers it to your employees, if you are an employee here, just understand, that health benefits is typically number 2 or number 3 expense on somebody's P&L. Number 2 or number 3, only behind salaries. And I'm seeing people shake their heads. So if you're a CEO or CFO in this room or in the audience or on the live cast, understand that that thing that you might not necessarily pay attention to is your second or third largest expense. When you take benefits plus your salaries, i.e. your human capital cost, that is by far number 1 in an expense. But when you look at it on the other side of this triangle, and all of you that are employers, and all of you are probably consumers of healthcare, it is also one of those things that the reality of it is you don't understand what it does to employees and their cost. So we're going to have this conversation. So I'm going to advise that there's a couple of things that you're going to naturally say to yourself, which is, we can't afford this. Is this true? Is this conversation here? So I want everybody to stop yourself after you hear this about what's the catch. Why isn't everybody doing this? If you've saved $550 million, why isn't everybody doing this? You have $0 copays, you have $0 deductibles, you have free drugs. Why isn't everybody to do this? The reality of it is we all understand that you can't eat pizza and get a six-pack, but the reality of it is this is a harder road. And so that is just the natural of this. And so I always say the healthcare system isn't broken. It's completely designed wrong. And I'm probably going to run a little bit behind schedule because I think I got handed it wrong. But I'm going to give you a couple of things to think about. Number one, what does your carrier, what do they call your premium? It's on the screen if you need a cheat sheet. Who wakes up in the morning? Raise your hand if you wake up in the morning wanting to lower your revenues. Nobody. So if we're sitting here thinking, why are we in this crisis at the end of the day, let's understand that the basis of this is wrong, right? Misaligned incentives. Everybody in the system makes more money when costs go up. And this is no more evidence than bam, hit you in the face with the stock prices of the major insurance companies. So when Mr. Rosen says, hey, by the way, I don't want to be in that pool, and he's a good swimmer, he wants to be in his own pool, the reality of it is, here's your answers why. While the nation is crippled in healthcare debt, while employers are spending more and more every single year, the reality of it is that profit, that revenue turns into profit, and it's done here. Now, the other thing is, unlike everything else, when you buy a new car, you spend more money for a nicer car. When you buy a nicer house, you spend more money. Healthcare, and you're going to hear from healthcare delivery panel, healthcare actually has an inverse relationship between quality and cost. The higher the quality of healthcare, the lower the cost. And so I'm going to show you, these are some actual visuals of quality scores. And if you've actually never accessed healthcare and seen quality scores, the reality of it is these things exist. And in programs that are designed properly, this is the kind of information that is advocating for the members in the plan. And so how does this work? There's 4 key tenets for Rosen Health as we think about this. Focus on quality. Anybody want to go to the second place person? Right? But you cannot impact healthcare that has already happened. And so I want everybody to kind of understand that and say that over again in your head. You cannot impact healthcare that has already happened. So if you're a business owner, if you're an HR person, the reality of it is we need to change this conversation away from sick care to healthcare. And the only way you start being healthcare is when you start thinking that the reality of it is the MRI over there costs $3,000. The MRI over here is $300. Why aren't we helping people get to the $300? So, why it works, and this is the game changer. In the models in which Mr. Rosen started the Pioneer, employees have a choice. You can go down a road and do it the same way that you've been doing it. But the reality of it is, we've read that book. We already know how that story ends. Or you can work with an advocate. That advocate is going to help people navigate the healthcare system, and if they do that, healthcare is free. No copays, no deductibles, no out-of-pockets. How is it possible? I see people mouthing, wait, how do you give it away for free and actually get savings? It's because the reality of it is the cost of healthcare might range 5, 6, 10 times different from one location to another. So in that story, if we could just help people understand that higher quality healthcare is lower cost and also provide a platform in which those people can get navigated through the healthcare system, the reality of it is everybody saves money. And here's the best part. Not only do you save money in year 1, that money is compounded year over year because you're teaching people how to be better healthcare consumers. So, Rosen Health. The normal model, you're buying it all packaged together. The Rosen Health model has been customized and put in a nice little package for you. And so we're going to get into details and hear about people that are doing it, but I want to leave you with one set of myth busters. There's a lot of you out there that are hearing this, and it's a new way, it's a new approach to doing something. You're like, wait a second, my employees, they're not healthcare experts. Well, news flash, obviously Mr. Rosen runs a hotel. People here are not healthcare experts. You're going to hear people that are nonprofits. You're going to hear people that are consultants. So the reality of it is, or my carrier. My employees love my carrier. I want to show you some stats, and I want you to think. Employees, natural consumers of healthcare at the end of the day, have been doing things differently, and they're okay with it. Who here has bought a house in the last couple of years? You probably use Zillow. You probably had technology that you didn't have before. You could buy cars out of vending machines now. And then the last thing I want everybody to remember is the realities that maybe those of us that are in this room don't face every day, but there are still people that cut out 39-cent coupons for lima beans. The reality of this is we have a problem. The second thing is, we already access great health care. Did you know we spend more money than any other developed nation, and we don't live any longer? My employees love insert carrier here. Are you guys familiar with Net Promoter Scores? This is the, hey, would you recommend this company to one of your colleagues? Well, you can't see it, but health insurance is down here. The only two industries that are lower than health insurance in the normal models of customer service is internet and cable providers. So do you know what this means? We have really crappy healthcare in the normal model that your employees suck and they would rather only talk less to their internet and cable provider. We all deserve more. Period. The end. And that is the exact example of what we're trying to do. So, if you guys can help me with the chairs, we're going to bring up impact panels. And what I wanted is to A, save you from listening to me talk the entire time, and B, listen to people who have gone down the road. So I'm going to bring Karen up, and Karen's going to give you a little bit of introduction while we sit. You're not allowed to go to the restroom yet because we are going to get this going. So, Karen, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm the distraction while they set up here. I'm Karen van Caulil. I'm the president and CEO of the Florida Alliance for Healthcare Value. We're Florida's business coalition on health. Currently, we have 85 public and private sector employers in our membership, all with lives in Florida, and Rosen Hotels and Resorts is one of our certainly most engaged and proactive members. We have big companies like the Walt Disney Company and Comcast, but we also work with all sizes of employers. We have a bunch of small banks that are headquartered in Florida. They come together to purchase healthcare services. We have the same thing with about 25 private educational institutions. And our other members kind of run the gamut here in the state. We have miners and manufacturers and rail workers and public transportation, hotels, county governments, city governments, school districts, and so on. We actually have 3 of the largest school districts in the United States: Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and Orange County as well. In addition to the 85 employer members, we've got 51 affiliate and healthcare advisory council members, many of whom are here today. And these are like-minded service providers, point solution providers, benefits consultants, independent TPAs, and hospitals, and they work with us very closely to carry out our mission. I like to think of us as a tribe, a group of people who are connected by leadership and an idea. For the past 40 years, we've been led by Florida's top employers. And the idea, essentially the mission and purpose of our organization, has always been to use the leverage and the influence and the purchasing power of Florida's employers to make Florida a world-class leader in healthcare quality and affordability, and we do that through collaboration, through innovation, transparency, and action. Time and time again, research has told us that employers are the stakeholder group that is most likely to fix healthcare in the United States. We're over 158 million Americans strong when you add up everyone who gets their health care and their health insurance from their employer. That is 3.5 times the number of people served by Medicare. That's a lot of leverage to drive quality, value, transparency, accountability, and now equity. If we can pull everyone together, that is, and speak in a unified voice. A group needs only 2 things to be a tribe: a shared interest and a way to communicate. Our shared interest is that we care about healthcare and the people who need it. The way we communicate is by offering a platform for spreading ideas that work, like RosenHealth, and holding everyone accountable for their part in the system. So here in Florida, no other group is going to the hospitals and the health plans asking them what they're doing to bring prices to a level of fairness. Florida is the third highest priced state for employers purchasing hospital services. It's not acceptable and it's not sustainable. No other group is demanding transparency of price and quality and patient safety data that employers need in order to execute their fiduciary duty. No other group is educating elected officials about how health care is crushing Florida's businesses, thwarting the state's pro-business agenda. This year, we are celebrating 40 years of driving value in health care for Floridians. We accomplish our mission and purpose by representing the collective voice of employers across the state. We do that by conducting research that advances our knowledge of how best to provide value-based benefits, by facilitating collaboration among key stakeholders who want to do the right thing, like being transparent about price and quality, fairly pricing services, and remembering that the patient and their safety comes first. We accomplish our mission by surfacing, or even when needed, creating innovative solutions that reduce or eliminate the barriers that impede hardworking Floridians' access to high-quality, affordable health care. We also accomplish our mission and meet the needs of our members by providing really excellent educational programs year-round. In fact, our upcoming annual conference on May 6th is here at the beautiful Rosen Shingle Creek. Would love to see you back here then. I know my time is up, and I know everybody's ready to hear these great panels, but let me leave you with a paraphrased quote from Jane Howard. Call it a tribe, call it a clan, call it a network. Whatever you call it, you need one. The Florida Alliance tribe is always growing, and we're always accepting new members so that we can do, in fact, what we've already heard, transform healthcare together. So please reach out to me if you want to learn more, and thank you to the RosenHealth team for letting me have a few minutes.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen. All right, so now we're going to have a panel, if you guys want to come up, of advisors. So if you're not familiar with kind of how the ecosystem works, most employers have an advisor. How many of you are employers in the room? You're a CEO, CFO, HR? So most everybody is working with an advisor. And so what I wanted to lay the foundation here is in a conversation with these advisors who all the crazy stuff that Mr. Rosen's doing, these people live it every day. They're doing it with their clients. And so I'd love to start off with you, Jim. So presumably all the stuff that we talked about is true. You can get better, higher quality health care at a lower cost. Why aren't all employers doing this?
Well, you kind of mentioned it. The system's rigged. They don't want you, they being the system doesn't want you to do it. The insurers make more money when you spend more money. The pharmacy benefit managers make more money when you spend more money. And many advisors, not all, make more money when your premiums go up. Your premiums go up by 20%, their revenue goes up by 20%. Did they do 20% more work? So it's not to say that there aren't advisors out there that want to do it. Their employer might not let them, their employer being one of the big houses, or because they make so much money off the commission side of the business that they don't want their revenue to go down. So the system's against us. So Spencer, no offense, but you've been in the business a while, I can tell.
Just a little.
What's possible? This is something you live every day. You guys are your whole team here. You guys service some of the biggest and brightest employers. What's possible?
So to clarify a little bit, we have a really seasoned, experienced team that manages about 20 clients. Those clients represent 20,000 employee lives, so about 40,000 belly buttons, if you will. Now, we are not as advanced as RosenCare is, but we utilize some of the same principles same tactics, direct contracts, fiduciary PBMs, et cetera, to have, since 2015, a 1% annual trend.
1%.
1%.
Across that entire block of business.
Across all industries. And so what that allows our clients to do, much like those that participate with Rosen, is that they don't have to raise deductibles, they don't have to raise premiums, they actually get better coverage and happier employees, and we build them a pathway to free healthcare. So you were talking about free, that's the only way to go.
So, Carolyn, Rosen's big. Spencer was talking about, if I do the math, an average of 1,000 life group. What's possible for that smaller employer?
So Carol Grant with Rosen, sure. So for smaller groups, there are some options that have become available really since 2010 when Obamacare came out. A lot of the stop loss and reinsurance market opened up for smaller groups. We do have some groups in the under 50 employees enrolled in the plan. We have a group that's here in the room that's actually 10. So 10 lives, and they're in it's called a level funded plan, but it's kind of self-funded light, but that's what's available right now for them until they can grow the company, and then we'll put more levers into their plan, so because they'll have more volume in their population. So it can be done. It's just becoming aware of it and wanting it and having that burning desire to make something different.
Awesome. So, Spencer, I'm going to go back to you. So there's a room full and there's a camera full, hopefully, of employers that are out there. You sit across the table from them every day. What do you tell an employer about this journey, about what's possible?
Yeah, I think probably the most important piece is that if they really want to manage their spend, add value to the plan for their members, have quality providers and services, they really have to be partially self-funded. Carolyn talked about level funded. That is a partially self-funded contract. It doesn't have to happen all at one time. Lester, you like to talk about the crawl, walk, run approach, but unless you're partially self-funded, you can't manage the supply chain, the healthcare supply chain. And if you can't do that and get the data, right? Big data is everything. If we don't have the data, how do we help our members get better to reduce the spend in the health plan? So if you want to have a population that appreciates your health plan and doesn't complain about your health plan, if you want to turn an expense into a retention and attraction vehicle, then you really need to be partially self-funded and use direct contracts and on-site clinics like the Rosen Care model.
So I want to make sure everybody understands that nowhere did he say a name of a carrier, right? Hey, you got to use XYZ carrier. The reality of what is occurring in this conversation is taking control of that spend. I also want to note out that nobody said, hey, by the way we lower cost, the way we make more impact is by passing more cost to employees. This is one of those things that, again, I warned you in your head, please don't think this is too good to be true or what's the catch? The catch is you got to step out of that bubble of the rinse and repeat. So, Jim, unfortunately, and having been one our entire lives, everybody basically on this panel, advisors a lot of times are the choke point, I'm going to call it. What do you advise advisors to think about, and maybe what should an employer be asking their advisor or knowing, are they working with the right person?
So as an advisor, understand that many of us are been in this business a long time, and we've been hitting that easy button. And that easy button hasn't changed how employers and employees are accessing the healthcare system and reducing their cost. All it's done is providing them with less crappy renewals and passing costs onto the shoulders of employees. And so I came to the realization that employees are the number one asset of any company. And without employees, we have no business. And we need to bring benefits back as truly a benefit. And the only way to do that is changing how we're doing it. Change is hard and change is difficult, but change doesn't occur until the pain of the perceived change is less than the pain we feel today. So understand, when's the best time to plant a tree? It's today. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It would have been great 3 years ago, but we can't change the past. We can only change today. So as an employer, find out, does your advisor, your broker, truly care about what they're doing to help you reduce cost? And that's it. Do they care? Do they care about your employees as much as you care about your employees?
The note of this is a heck of a lot harder work for those of us on the stage. For an advisor, taking this road is harder. So the reality of it is the easy button is easier and you make more money. That's why this system is difficult. It's why we started with advisors. Carolyn, one of the things that I love working with you on is your passion for the employees, for the people that are making the widgets, delivering the pizza, whatever it might be. Everybody in this room is a consumer of healthcare. That's the interesting part about this conversation. You might be a business owner, but you're also a consumer of healthcare. What do you tell the average person that might be thinking and hearing this, like, wait a second, what do you tell a consumer of healthcare?
So when we're talking to employees about what's about to happen we call it an educational meeting, because I want to tell them this is something, they're going to experience something completely new, and to see this paint a picture of what it could be like. And those of you that are old enough in the room that grew up with a family physician that you could call from the rotary phone and this person took care of your family, we go back in time to that. When you had a relationship with your doctor, they knew everything about you and you could call them, text them, email them, things like that. So I kind of paint this picture of what is possible. People don't know what to do. People are paralyzed out there to make an appointment. They don't know who to call. Go online, and I guess you start with the letter A, and you kind of find a name that you might like, where they went to college, did you like that football team, or something like that. And the networks that are out there from the big insurance companies, they cannot refer you to another doctor or not. All they can tell you is if they're in the network or not. So you have no idea the background or the experience or the quality outcomes of that provider. With our systems, one of the biggest levers that we put in to help the members is a navigation. So a nurse navigator there to help the members. Some members, I have an employer here that has a lot of young employees. Their mom made all their last appointments, right? So these employees have never made a doctor appointment before. So this navigation can help them. Let's find you a primary care doctor, and let's make sure that they're accepting new patients and that they're open the hours that you need them to. So that too, I have a severe chronic condition and I need to go to a center of excellence or to some type of advanced therapy or something like that. Or maybe inquire to them, it sounds like we might need a second opinion. Something doesn't sound right. And that knowledge and that program works so well because the employees tend to call them a lot and bounce ideas off of them. I have this new medication, does it have side effects and things like that. So having that person help them navigate the complexity of healthcare is so wonderful. So again, we explain it very basically, but we explain when you're confused, call the nurse. When you're confused, call the nurse because they will help you. So it's somebody, rather than calling the 800 number, and it could be to a foreign country, it could be wherever, but really they're just going to tell you to get off the phone. So we help paint a picture of what it can be, and then as an advisor, in my previous life, I've been at Rosen for 10 years now. I know it's hard to believe, Dore, 10 years. We feel like the Grim Reaper before. When I would show up for renewal meetings, whatever, I'd be like, oh yes, there's the insurance lady. And it was horrible, because now your payroll deductions are more and this and that. Now I show up to groups and it's like I'm meeting with friends. So I have employees hug me, cry to me how our new program has changed their lives. I have another client in the room where I have an employee that told me our program, her husband was on painkillers for 20 years. And our direct primary care doctor got him off painkillers within 6 months. And she said to me, I got my husband back. Okay, are you crying yet? Like, I was sobbing when she told me that. So that, when you hear things like that, that something that you put together impacted them, that is such a high for me, more than any big compensation if I work for a big house could ever do. So we know that we're making an impact on people, we're changing lives every day. That is my why.
Awesome. So I want to recap what you heard and what you didn't hear. What you heard, an advocate. I want you to ask yourself in your plans today as a consumer, as an advisor, as an employer, do you have an advocate that helps employees, your number one asset, understand where to access healthcare, answer all those questions? The answer is probably no. Number two, do you reap those rewards? When the budget is $1 and you spend 75 cents, who gets that money? And then the three, and I commend all of you because I know all of you personally, this is not for the faint of heart. I see some of the clients that are out there that's taken this journey. We're the battle scar, like we're the shield that goes in first of learning this. But what you didn't hear increased deductible. You didn't hear shop insurance. Health care is the answer to fixing health insurance. And those two words need to be in different vocabulary. And so, guys, thank you so much. If any employer out there needs to talk to them about what exactly happens behind the scenes, obviously they're all going to be here, but I commend you guys for leading that charge, having been somebody that's been on both sides like we all have. Yep. We all started our careers doing it the normal way. There's a wake-up moment. We all have our wake-up moment, and I just commend you guys for leading the charge. Thank you.
Thanks, Lester.
So I think what they will share with me is that the number one way and the number one reason this isn't more mainstream than it is today is education. Is a lot of you employers in the room are hearing what is possible for the first time. And I want to show a little bit of a sneak peek into a documentary that I am part of creating. And this is grassroots, like, hey, let's just record it and we'll figure out if we can get Netflix. Netflix, by the way, you should cover this. And so I wanted to show this so that you could understand from different vantage points, from big insurance company, from big broker, from big pharma, what this looks like. So if we could play that video, that would be great.
I think a trip to medical records in the old days, seeing that patients were being turned to collections for really outrageous amounts for reasonable procedures, that was bad. And I felt like an accessory to a crime.
We've got to change this system because people are hurting. That's not good for productivity. It's not good for job satisfaction. And it's not good for them too, because they're paying so much that they don't need to pay because of this system. And a lot of the money that they're sending to insurance companies, that's money they cannot give their workers in raises. They need to understand that. And they need to understand that they've been taken to the cleaners for years and years, that they're wasting money. So much of what we spend on health care does not go to improve somebody's health or get someone well.
The problem of price gouging and irrational price variation is absolutely rampant. And it only takes one look at a hospital price file to know that there is no logic other than revenue extraction.
What an employer or an employee calls premium, a health insurance company calls that revenue. Who wakes up in the morning wanting to lower their revenues? Nobody. The whole system is built incorrectly. Everybody in that food chain makes more money when costs go up. The health insurance company does, the broker does. If you make commissions, I make commissions off of premium. Premiums go up, I make more money. Hospitals need to fill beds. Doctors get paid more the more services they do, the more prescriptions they do. PBMs make more money. So the whole system's rigged against the true outcome that is trying to be desired, which is we would like to actually lower cost.
We will charge what the market will bear. Now, the problem in healthcare is that oftentimes there is no upper ceiling to what a life can be worth.
But why would otherwise savvy business leaders who ruthlessly manage the cost of every other purchase their company makes overlook, ignore what has become their second or third largest line item on their P&L? It's because of what I call healthcare's big lie. The lie is simple. You can't control the cost of healthcare.
We realize we can charge a tenth of what a so-called not-for-profit hospital charges and still be profitable.
Often it's just unquestioned. And these companies are leaving a lot of money on the table and getting ripped off in many ways they just don't acknowledge.
And it doesn't have to be that way. There's a solution. We've been solving this problem for 20 years. People don't have to live with that anymore.
So that's a sneak peek of a documentary that's gonna come out here in April. But the whole point is nothing changes until we educate what is possible. And obviously that's the point of this session today. But I'm now gonna bring up some employers. And if we can give them a round of applause as they come up. Because the reality of everybody here is they're a trailblazer. They're the people that when they went to their employees and like, hey, we're gonna rip off this Band-Aid and we're gonna go with somebody, something, some new thing, and employees said, what? I'm losing that shiny logo on my card. What do I do? These are the people that led the charge. And so I commend you guys, and I just really appreciate you guys being here. So again, all of these employers are doing the not normal, okay? So my point of wanting to have this is these are the people that had to get their hands dirty, right? And dirty is the word. We get our hands dirty. So the question that I want to start off with, there was an aha moment. There was a, I ain't gonna take this no more moment. And I would love for you guys to introduce yourself, your organization, and then share with the audience what was that aha moment for you. And we'll start with you, Amy.
Right, thank you. Good morning. My name's Amy Lyon. I'm with Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida. We serve 7 counties in the Central Florida area for people facing food insecurity. and a nonprofit, obviously. And so every time I say Carolyn, I mean Rosen, but Carolyn's my person. So I think the aha moment for us took a few years of Carolyn kind of holding up some flashy ideas around controlling our costs and our own care. And it was that we'll budget 10% and hope for the best, and then it's 12, and what can we cut so that we can keep this good health care we thought we had. We didn't charge single coverage employees any share in their payroll contributions. We had dependent care that was pretty expensive. And it was just chipping away and chipping away. And at one point we went to a level funded plan so we could start to see some data. And I think it probably took you 4 to 6 years to convince us and show us. And she did that by showing us that we couldn't afford not to do something different if we really wanted to continue to have a good health plan that took care of things. I'll share some stories in a little bit. And I also wanted to say on a personal level, about the same time we were making this change, I had a little something going on. I was trying to figure out what it was, and I had some imaging done and paid my, I think, $500 copay for that imaging. And it came out unremarkable. There was nothing wrong. And my doctor, who got 10 minutes or less with me, handed me a card of a surgeon and said I could talk to that surgeon about exploratory surgery to find out what was going on in that unremarkable report. And it was simply that I was taking a new medication that caused me a little bit of cramping, and I thought I had a hernia or something. But my doctor did not have the time to find out what was going on in my health care life to know that that's all it was. It was just some medicine that I was taking, and I didn't need to have surgery. So it was a real personal moment for me as well.
Awesome. Jonathan?
Good morning, Jonathan Rivera, Rosen Hotels Risk Management. And at the onset of this, Ashley and Mr. Rosen shared the aha moment for Rosen Hotels, so I thought I'd share what an aha moment for me as an employee, as an associate of Rosen Hotels Resorts was. The pregnancy and birth of my eldest was high risk and complicated. Saw many doctors, and as a family, we paid $750, and that was it. When I heard how much that would cost my employer, that was my aha moment. That was a moment of loyalty. That was a moment of appreciating who I worked for, and it became real to me, all that I had heard. You know, I started at Rosen about 20 years ago, and back then I didn't need a lot of health care. Well, you know, there is a value and a loyalty that comes from that. I appreciate the Rosen Medical Center hounding me down for a physical. And me feeling perfectly well, and the doctor saying, you know what, there is something we found that we need to address. You know, that to me is an aha moment and a wow moment. And it creates value to an employee and to an associate and a connection to their employer and company. And I think it's one of the big reasons why we have the low turnover ratio that we have and the tenure that we have across the company, ranging from 20, 30, 40, 50-year tenured employees.
Amazing. Speaking of the person that gets to do all that, DeRay.
Good morning. I'm DeRay Mays. I'm the Director of Human Resources here at Rosen Hotels. And you've heard a lot already about our health plan. And so I guess one of the most profound things for me at this point to share with you is that I've been with the company for 22 years. So when I started, the health plan was already there. However, it looks a lot different today than it looked back then. I remember when I started, it was a little, we actually called it a clinic back then. It had, I think, 1.5 staff members, 1.5 providers and a few staff members, very small operation. And over time, there's been this evolution and expansion to where today we have this beautiful facility with many providers and staff members that provide outstanding and quality care. Probably one of the biggest aha moments for me is working in HR prior to coming to Rosen. I was used to working with insurance agencies that kind of told you what you were getting. You had no choice. You just kind of knew what you were going to do, and you just had to share that with your employees. And at Rosen, that's definitely much different. I've been the benefactor of partnering with Carolyn and as our advisor, and also with our medical center, and really just focusing on quality care, taking care of our associates, meeting them where they're at. It's personalized, it's customized. I have a seat at the table to impact and influence decisions that we make related to our health plan. A lot of what you've already heard today from those of us who work at Rosen or affiliated with Rosen, and it's been an absolute awesome journey.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Sherry.
Hi, my name is Sherry Newman. I'm currently with Axon Underwriting Services, and I'll talk a little bit about my experience with my former employer, which is Leading Agile. It's a consulting service, and my aha moment was probably most of you have experienced, if you've been in this business for a while, it's like, push the high deductible healthcare. People will be healthcare consumers if it costs them less money. Their premium is less, and that's a myth. Didn't work. We went to self-insured because that was the next step. We went to a level funded plan, and you'll get your data and you'll know your numbers and you'll have better control. And again, we had great numbers, our claims were good, and at the time of our renewal, guess what? We had double digit again, probably the 4th year in a row we had double digit growth. And even more concerning to me is the broker we had was not Lester at the time, and I've known Lester for a number of years, and I knew he was kind of cutting edge and had ideas. And when I talked to the broker and said, what can we do? And he told me, there's absolutely nothing you can do. This is your best option. And it was a 20% increase after paying like maybe a 15% increase the year before. And that was self-insured. And so I made the call to Jim, wherever you are, and to Lester and said, I'm ready. I'm like, I am sick and tired of every year I get the same story from my broker. Every year I get the same story from my insurance company, whether my claims are good. If my claims are good, well, then it's because, the rest of their book of business had a bad year. And if my claims were bad, well, then, it didn't matter. So every year I got the same answer. So my aha moment was, it's time to do something different. And if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit of the experience. Yeah. The employer at the time, we had a large population was highly compensated. And so I thought, I don't know if they're gonna do this. If I tell them, if you go to the advisor and you need an MRI and it's $300 here versus going to the hospital where it's $3,000, I really don't know that they're gonna care because they can afford that $500 copay. And I can tell you, I brought my phone up here not because I was expecting a call, but because I just pulled up a text I got from an employee last year that texted me a thank you and said, this plan saved me $7,000 out of pocket. You talked a little bit about this is not for the faint-hearted. This has not been as difficult, nearly as difficult as looking my employees in the face and telling them we have another year of double-digit growth and it's not going to get any better. This way, they actually feel like they have some choice and they have some opportunity to make sure they get great health care and that somebody's actually looking out for them. And the first time I got a text from an employee saying, thank you for everything you're doing, try to save us money and get us good quality health care. And this isn't my first, this was just the last one I pulled up. The experience has not been difficult. What's difficult is telling your employees you're getting crappy health care and you're gonna pay more this year.
So the greatest part about doing what we do is the employees. Jim said it right, without employees, none of us have any business. I would love to hear from the HR folks. You deal with employees all day long. In this new world, what do they feel, what do they say?
I could take way more than my allotted time to tell you some stories about employees. We're in our 3rd year of being self-funded on a plan that is much like the plan that Rosen Hotels has and all the Rosen products. And we have not increased our employee contribution for the dependent care at all. Our costs have remained almost flat for 3 years that the employer pays. And just to give you a couple ideas, so I have an employee who uses our direct primary care, so he spends an hour with his doctor instead of 10 minutes. And they discuss his whole health. And he needed I think he needed a CPAP machine. So he works with our nurse navigator. He works with a company that we have that provides durable medical equipment for free. So he paid nothing to see the doctor to discuss the situation. He paid nothing for the machine that he needed, and he pays nothing for the supplies that go along with that. I have another dependent of an employee who might be me, whose husband had to have back surgery, and we went through our nurse navigator, who provided some physicians to speak to, and I will do one little shout out to Orlando Health because they asked me for it. And it's in that system. And so we did everything we needed in preparation for surgery. He went to the hospital and had surgery, and because we had followed this path of better care, better outcomes, better cost, we paid $0. And I really do mean $0. No deductible, no co-insurance. It was fully covered because we are getting it at such a good price because the quality of care allows that physician, those practices to charge less because they aren't paying for malpractice for lawsuits and just wrong outcomes. So those are, how many more do you want? We'll see how the time's going.
We're good because we could be here a while. Jeray, you're in the weeds, and I want to make sure everybody understands. Sherry's population, high wage earners, consultants. We have non-for-profit, and we got the average person who's making beds and doing stuff. What do your employees say?
So I guess probably the first thing to start with, I'm not going to have all the great healthcare stories because really our health medical center really kind of gets those stories better than we do on the HR side. However, I do want to share that as an organization who has a wonderful brand and reputation in the community for our benefit offerings and especially our health plan, it's amazing that we can be interviewing and hear from individuals that kind of know a little bit about our health coverage, which is kind of strange. We also have our managers, our hiring managers, who are all benefactors, primarily speaking, of our health plan, as well as their dependents. And as an HR professional, we don't have to do a whole lot of training or educating on our health plan because, like I said, they're experiencing it each and every day. So it's nice when they can, as hiring managers, be in conversations with candidates or applicants and they're sharing about their personal stories or experiences. They're also sharing about the fact that we have zero to low co-pays for office visits, that we have no deductible, which is amazing, and also the wonderful pharmacy benefit that we have. I have a staff member that came to me about 2 weeks ago, so it's interesting that we're here today, and she was telling me about going to pick up a prescription at her neighborhood pharmacy, Walmart pharmacy actually, and that the pharmacist and the pharmacy tech were in conversation going on and on and on about just the Rosen pharmacy benefit and just talking to her about how they have not been able to see one even come close in comparison. And then the conversation kind of took a different turn where the pharmacist was sharing with her how he was scheduled for an upcoming surgery where he was going to have $6,000. So it kind of resonated with me when Ashley spoke about the cost, $6,000. And I assumed that that was probably either a deductible or co-insurance, not really sure. But I believe the staff member was sharing with me that story. Again, oh my gosh, what I have at Rosen is just so wonderful and so fabulous. And another thing to kind of mention, you talk about, our associates, many of them, are hourly operational folks, and we're very diverse as a company. We have a huge population that their first language is Spanish, and another huge population of those that speak Haitian Creole. And so we do everything in all three languages when we're communicating. And so imagine sometimes the challenges of communicating our health plan. And the nice thing about it, it is easy to understand. Access to care is a key driving factor. And so the ability to do that in a way, and because it's so simple, and I don't want to make light of that, it seems simple compared to what I've ever been used to before, And like I said, the plan and the care really speaks for itself.
I think everybody understands the word free or gratis if we're speaking Spanish. I don't know how to say it in French Creole, but everybody kind of understands that. Jonathan, I want to take the black and white route. You're a risk manager. Your job is to keep people out of trouble. You deal a lot more on the business aspect. What does this do from a business aspect? So we heard it from the employee standpoint. What's it do from the business angle?
Another story. Our workers in the service industry work extremely hard. They work very physically demanding jobs to go home and just about do the same. And at times, if they're just not healthy, if their body is not prepared, they'll just go home and pop pills to deal with the aches and deal with the pains and just keep them going. And it may sound cliche, but a healthier worker is a safer worker. A worker that is safer and able to do their job safer is going to result in less loss on the workers' comp side for the employer. And for those of you that are involved in workers' comp, you know how structured that is, and how you have to follow certain things, and costs are what they are. But if you can prevent the loss or minimize the size of the loss, the injury of that worker, because they're healthier to begin with, you're saving at the end of the day. I can speak to Rosen Hotels and our losses, our experience modification factor on the workers' comp side, and it's in the 0.5 range right now. Wow. Meaning our premiums are reduced by 40-something% because of our experience loss. And that comes not just from how you manage your claims and your prevention safety, it comes from how safe or how healthy your worker is to begin with. How are they capable to do that physical demanding job? But not just physically and being safer, but, and Rosen Hotels is a firm believer of this, an associate that feels better, an associate that is treated better, is an associate that is going to treat others better. And in the service industry, that is everything. Foundational. That is key. Rosen Hotels is known for its service. I hope you all experience it here today. It has to do with what we're talking about too. It's not just about, hey, let's smile. It's about how you feel. And your health has a lot to do with that.
Awesome. So I want to leave everybody, and we're running a little bit behind, so let's get the answers there. I want to leave everybody with advice. Look in the audience, look at the camera. What's your piece of advice as people leave here today?
I think courage is not the same as going in blind. You need to have courage, but you don't have to go in blind. You can get the information to help you make a wise, financially responsible decision, and you can take some baby steps. And then I think the thing you do have to be ready to do is education. It's constant, and it's super short story. Yesterday, I talked to someone about this whole free surgery idea, and we've had the plan for 3 years. He still didn't understand what I was talking about because he hasn't had that situation, but he might in the near future. So education and just that courage doesn't mean you go in with nothing as a foundation. Do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
What I've learned from our healthcare team and our Rosen Medical Center team is it's possible. It takes courage. It can feel uneasy. What is a hotel guy doing getting into healthcare? It takes courage, but it works. And sorry for all the stories, but our wonderful HR team does wonderful events for our associates, and I remember attending the very first years ago, and I saw folks that, like me, maybe were never in a gala, never dressed up, and got up to a stage and shook hands with Mr. Rosen and took a picture. And it was just so amazing. And me coming from breaking a ton of bones in Puerto Rico and experiencing healthcare there and coming here and seeing, being able to have the access that our staff has today, the care that they have today, it's amazing. So yes, it takes courage. Yes, it can be very uneasy, but you know what? It's the right thing. It saves money, but at the end of the day, it's the right thing for your people.
Awesome.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to kind of mirror to what you said earlier about the importance of hiring and retention. And it's all about the employee or associate in our world, the associate experience. And today, you have to recognize that there's 5 generations in the workplace, all with different expectations and requirements and needs. And finding ways to tailor and meet each person where they're at, creating new and innovative technologies and therapies, and a lot of what we've heard today is the way to go, and to Jonathan's point, just the right thing to do, and especially in this conversation today about healthcare.
Last but not least.
Yeah. So I will give you 2 words: believe. A lot of our employees at the time said, it's too good to be true. What do you mean? I can have surgery, or I can get this medication for free. And it works. And so I will say believe, because a lot of our employees were in disbelief. There's no way this is going to work. There's no way this is not going to cost me anything. And like you said, just do it. It really wasn't difficult. It wasn't a lot of extra education. It was just, the key to me was the concierge service, because people are sick and tired of calling an 800 number and talking to somebody that doesn't know anything about them. All they can say is, this doctor is in your network. And you can go online and you can go to any of your big insurance carriers and find out what doctor's in your network. But do you really know if they're going to give you quality care? And I would much rather look my employees in the eye and say, you know what? You call this number, you get a concierge service. You know you're going to get a good quality physician. You're not just going to get a doctor that's in the network, that's got a contract, that's making money.
Awesome.
Concierge.
Well, guys, a round of applause for our trailblazers. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. So to go ahead and caveat, we are running a little, like 10 minutes behind. The rest of the stuff is still good. So you're going to be okay with 10 minutes behind. If your boss, if you need a note for your boss because you're late, I'll write it, okay? So one of the big things is healthcare literacy. And I've got a video. I want you guys to write down a name, Marshall Allen. Marshall Allen is was an investigative reporter who covered the healthcare field, and now he is speaking out, and he's got a video to share. And then also, we're going to have a call to action here in a little bit. There's a book that Marshall wrote, Never Pay the First Bill. And I've got hundreds of signed copies that I want you to take with you for making that movement. So if we can play that video.
Hi, I'm Marshall Allen, and it is so cool that Lester invited me to pop in on your meeting here. I'm a big fan of Lester, and I really appreciate that Lester is giving away copies of my book. Thank you, Lester. And my name is Marshall Allen. I'm a journalist. I do investigative journalism about healthcare, and I wrote the book, Never Pay the First Bill, because I had written so many hundreds of stories about working Americans getting overcharged, employers paying too much and not getting good value for their money, for their health benefits. So I wrote a how-to guide to help employers and working people, all the employees, understand how to navigate the healthcare system, how to win insurance company appeals, how to understand their medical bills to be sure that they don't overpay or pay for something that's in error on their medical bill, how to avoid overpriced charges, which are just rampant throughout healthcare. And it's been really satisfying to see people take the book. It's like, I call it a guerrilla guide to navigating the healthcare system. And people are saving hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars because of the book. Read the reviews, it's actually pretty fun to see. Then the next step, I took the book and I turned it into a series of health literacy videos called the Never Pay Pathway. And you can check those out at allenhealthacademy.com. And if you're a SHRM member, you can even get continuing education credit through SHRM and also through NABIP for completing the video curriculum. So it's a whole curriculum, all the knowledge of my book turned into videos. And I'm just pumped that Lester is there sharing the book with you and talking to you about how you can be equipped and empowered. That's the message that he and I both really share. So if you're interested in the book giveaway, I understand there's some forms there for you to fill out, and we want to arm you with the right tools. So Lester has copies of the book. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, online. Reach out to me if there's anything I can ever do to help you. So all my best, and thanks again, Lester, for inviting me here to join you today.
So in that book, you will learn, and I advise everybody to read it. It's a great read, but you'll hear stories that should make us all sick about what happens today, about hospitals sending people to collections, that their mission of that hospital is to impact their community, but they're sending people in their community to collections, all for the wrong reasons. And so healthcare delivery is such a key part about health insurance. And I hate the fact that our industry makes those two words synonymous. If I asked you, who's your healthcare provider? So many people say their insurance company. Guys, we have to stop that. And so I'm going to bring my panel of healthcare delivery experts, and we're going to talk about what is possible when you put health care and health insurance on the same page, but in different paragraphs. So give us a round of applause for these gentlemen. So I'm going to start homegrown, and then we're gonna leave. If there's anybody more passionate about this guy, it's this guy. So Kenneth, talk to me about the evolution, what you guys do here at Rosen, and obviously introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm good afternoon, good morning, good night. First of all, this is going to be very difficult because I think Lester only gave me like 5 minutes, and everybody, I know a lot of you in here know that's difficult for me. But first of all, I'm Kenneth Aldridge, Director of Health Services for Rosen Medical and Rosen Hotels. So the evolution of the Rosen Medical Center, amazing. We have an amazing team that once the health system recognized that we can bring primary care, bring the essence of care to the associates, we've grown it to places, I mean, many people value what we have done because we brought mobile dermatology, mobile mammogram, we're bringing mobile vision, we're looking at mobile dental. Again, it's the core of what does Rosen associates need? They need the care at the site. The evolution has been, we recognize we got to bring it to them. We have to bring them the service. We're in the pilot stage of bringing treatment for immunotherapy for allergy care. So that evolution is what we recognize for Rosen, but we've also brought it to other partners that we have within the community. Did I answer the question?
You did. I would love for you to talk about...
I have a hard time sitting and talking.
Yeah,
so.
I get that. If you want to stand up, it's yours. That's fine.
Then
I would love for you to talk about a story about employees and the impact that removing the barriers of accessing healthcare, what does that do for employees, for a human life?
Well, we've been talking about the barriers to access to care. 35% of Americans are delaying care. Why? Deductibles, coinsurances. At Rosen, you've heard it over and over again, we don't have deductibles and coinsurances. But the stories begin with, hey, individuals before they came to us, couldn't afford health systems, and they're now coming to us with A1Cs, meaning their blood sugars are in the 400s. 400s. We've had patients with their blood pressures in the 200s who are, hey, welcome to Rosen Health Hotels, welcome to America, and our doctors, and we have our medical director, Dr. Ryan here, and our team are now, hey, we're trying to save your life. Because they didn't have the care that we have now. So we've removed those barriers, we're bringing it to them. Mr. Rosen drives them to the medical center, they're on the clock, we're changing the face of healthcare. And one of my favorite Creole patients, we developed our pillbox program for this individual because he had heart failure, he needed a heart transplant, he needed all of these things. And he came to us and we were able to keep him alive for, I think it was 15 years. Needed an LVAD, all those kind of things. He retired, went on Medicare, and what happened 6 months later? He died. This is why we're here, people. We are here to make a difference in healthcare. It has to begin. I'm grateful that you're here because we've got to continue to fix this, and it's things like this. It's events like this. It's people like you, employers like yourself, Amy, who made a change. And we are asking each and every one of you, I know Ken Peach is in here, a lot of our relationships are in here, and let's continue to make a difference. It starts now. Did I answer the question?
You did. Yeah, no, that's a round of applause worthy. And this is him every conversation. So he's just not hyped because he's on the stage. This is him every day. Jordan, I'm going to go to you because somebody out there might be saying, whoa, wait a second, Rosen, Mr. Rosen owns a whole, block. It's easy when people are right here, but you guys have taken this model and taken it to a normal employer. Talk to me about what's possible. Like, I want everybody to leave here, not with the excuse, I could never do that because I'm not Rosen.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lester. If I asked you the question, do you want that energy and compassion brought to your people every day? The answer is obviously yes, right? And you can now. So Lester, to your point, right? If you think, I don't have 4,000 employees, I don't have the real estate, I don't have all of the financial resources to build my own medical center, that's reasonable. I mean, I would say that's a reasonable barrier. So what we were able to do is take the vision that you heard from Mr. Rosen and the passion and the humanity and the financial aspects of all this, and we created a partnership called Rosen Care powered by People One Health. And simply what that's doing is building Rosen Care powered by People One Health centers all throughout the community. And these community centers will be open to any employer to utilize. So it doesn't matter if you have 50 employees or if you have 5,000 employees. The tenants, the care model, the passion and compassion is going to start springing up in the communities throughout where you live and where your people work and live. So really simply, this entry point, right? You're going to hear a lot about prevention, that idea of a primary care physician that can spend an hour with you, having all the resources, whether it be pharmacy and imaging, all those comprehensive preventive resources dedicated to your people, all built on the underlying tenets that if we just keep our people healthier, we all win together. So it's a super exciting time to be in partnership. Obviously, we couldn't be any more grateful at People One Health to partner with the mission and passion of Rosen Care and Rosen Hotels. Now RosenHealth, and that model will be out and available to all of you folks out there. So high level, that's where we're going.
And I want to make sure people understand that although we're talking about Orlando because we're sitting in Orlando, you have clinics all over the country. And so this model of advanced primary care, removing those barriers, giving people free health care, focused on prevention, not a sick care model, that's happening everywhere. People just have to get it. So if you could kind of just expand on that.
Yeah, so this is a movement. It really is. I think Kenneth is the spokesman of the movement, and you've earned that. But this is not just happening here. This is really happening across the state of Florida, across the country, where the realization is that I think the other gentleman said that the pain of doing nothing is greater than the pain of doing something. So you're seeing advanced primary care, which is the fancy term for giving your folks access to unlimited primary care that's focused on one thing, which is maximizing their health and well-being. All of these physicians and all this care model operate in a system, and this is important because economics drive what happens on the outside. They are all compensated in a way that they all make money the healthier your people are, not the more services that they're sending out and the more care they deliver. So when you fix the underlying economics and give healthcare providers the opportunity to drive health and well-being, and then combine it with the passion and mission and partners that you're going to hear from here, this is going to be sweeping across the country. So it's going to be mainstream here real soon. You all are on the front lines of that.
So, Mr. Stewie, we have, in some way, shape, or form, sometimes hospitals are painted in a bad light. But it's hospitals like yours, it's people like you that change that model. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that everything we talk about, yes, is for warm and fuzzy, conversations and putting an employee, putting a human life first. But I want everybody to understand that economics is at the baseline of this. And I just want you to think about one thing. What you call a deductible, an out-of-pocket cost, a hospital calls that an accounts receivable. So if we could just get everybody in the right room at the same time to have an educated conversation, magic happens. And so I want you to explain why the heck a hospital would want to get closer to employers. And wait a second, people are saving money, so intuitively I might think, well, wait a second, does that mean they're getting less money? How does this all work? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so Mike Stubbe, I'm the Vice President of Payer Strategy for Orlando Health, and I think the first answer is it's right in my title, right? It's intentional that I'm the over payer strategy because in this world, as we have these conversations, it's the employers that are the true payers. And we at Orlando Health have taken steps to just overtly acknowledge that, and then we've built solutions, and my team is here today with me who do a great job. Pam and Tony, others at Orlando Health are very much aligned on delivering these solutions to the employers that we live and work next to in Central Florida. You know, Orlando Health has been here for over 100 years as an organization. I mean, the name is relatively new, but we got our start over 100 years ago. And so we're part of this community. We want to be part of these solutions. And to your point, we have our challenges, our issues, and we're at the forefront of trying to deliver solutions that sort of solve our problems along with other people's problems at the same time. So if we can take a pricing model right off the top, that maybe it does give a pretty substantial discount to an employer, but in exchange for that, we don't have to chase all the deductibles and coinsurance. We don't waste millions of dollars chasing with the traditional BUCA plans what we have to do to get claims paid. It's just a tremendous amount of waste in the system. And so we price that into our model, but that's just the starting point, right? That's how you jump off from that and say, what do we do to use the navigation to get the patients to our freestanding imaging centers or to get them to our surgeons who are joint venture owners in an ambulatory surgery center that's not hospital-based. All these things create more savings that are exponential on top of those unit prices. So it starts with a health system that's already recognized that the world is moving out of the hospital. And yes, we've got big buildings that we have to pay for. There's a lot of ways to get to that. And part of it is partnering with a community of employers, consultants, point solutions vendors. Some of you are in the room that we work with directly today, helping us bring these solutions to the community. And so that's really what we're excited to do, and it's an organization that supports the mission that we're trying to do here today.
Awesome. So I want you guys to leave with the same advice. You're on the healthcare delivery side. What do you tell people out there to leave them with? You've got 1 minute. All right.
I'll go first. So I heard two words today that one of them is one that I've already started to embrace, and the other one really kind of brought it home for me. So the first word is innovation. I've said, used to have it in my LinkedIn profile, and I recently changed it because I've used the term disruption or disrupting the status quo as sort of a brand, but that has a negative connotation in some circles. And in other circles, it's a scary word, right? So I think for me, the term innovation is a more positive way to look at this because we are trying to do things in a different way, and it doesn't have to be scary. And then the community piece of it is, again, as I look around the room and see familiar faces, it's the people that we've partnered with that we're bringing these solutions forward, and it's a like-minded people that are all doing the right things for the right reasons, and I just think we need more people in that community. So those of you that aren't joining with us, we're extending a hand and saying, come on, let's go.
Jordan.
I'll expand upon that. So I think I have two. I have partnership and you deserve better, which, Lester, you really invoke that. So partnership is building on what Mike said here, that everyone you see on the stage here and the folks in this room are about being open to partnership with you as the employer and your employees. It's you folks who are the constituents, and the veil's been pulled over your eyes for many years, but you have the power, and coming together with all the folks that you see here, we are here to be your partners, truly authentic partners in optimizing the health and well-being of your people, which is the health and well-being of your organization. The other part is you deserve better. And there's actually 4 folks in the you deserve better. It's you as the employer who is paying for health care. It's the people, your employees and the folks that you're giving health care to. It's the partners in the healthcare system, but it's also the physicians and the care team. those folks are also equally tortured by the legacy healthcare system. And when you give them the opportunity to take buka out of the middle and just have the healthcare providers and the patients they are caring for being the only two entities in that sacred place in the care room, then the patients do better and the care teams feel better and do better. So partnership and you deserve better. That's what I want to leave you all with.
So I would just want to expand on so do you know that 20% of healthcare workers have left healthcare altogether? The burnout rates, all-time high. We have to make a difference by giving these providers the opportunities, the time to care for their patient versus the 7-minute world or the 5-minute world that we're living in. And also relationships. These relationships within this room, we've got powerhouses in this room, and it's now we're making a difference and making a change. You got to get involved with the Florida Alliance, get involved with other organizations that are bringing change to healthcare. And these relationships on stage and in this room, keep it going. And start having those tough discussions with your employers to say, hey, this is something that you can do, here's something that has been done, and make a difference now. Your employees cannot continue taking on more cost shifting. They can't continue because look at what's the average housing in here is what, $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment? Rosen Hotels, we have lower socioeconomic. We got to give them everything they can and not take from them and take from their paychecks. Let's give them back. Let's lower co-pays. Let's do whatever we need to do to make their lives even better. Make a difference, make a change, establish relationships, and get involved.
That's it.
If you're going to give me two more, I'll take more too. Come on. No, so again, just wanted to go back to the primary care piece, the prevention. I heard Jonathan talk about that we hounded him to get his physical, get his physical. That is a difference. The Rosen Medical Center, when you come onto our health plan for the first time, we're reaching out to you. Now, Mr. Rosen calls me the CNO, Chief Nudge Officer, because we care. We sometimes care a little bit more than sometimes that individual because they've never received the health care that they get today. So we bring them in, find out where we're starting, care about them. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And you got to give them that time. Give those providers the times to spend with your associates, spend with the patient, figure out where we're starting so they don't end up in the hospital or, cancer institutes or whatever we need. We have those relationships also with Mike and his Orlando Health team, nurse navigators for the Cancer Institute. We got 74 patients. We have 2 pancreatic cancer patients. We have 3 multiple myeloma patients. We have a heart transplant patient and 2 bone marrow transplant patients. But we're still able to provide the care for those individuals, and they don't have to worry about the barrier. Because can you imagine a 20% coinsurance or a deductible associated to a heart transplant? That's the difference that we're bringing to you all today. With these relationships, let's change the industry. Let's fix healthcare because it's broken.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. A round of applause. Thanks. So the timer was wrong. I thought I was behind schedule. I am 8 minutes ahead of schedule, which has never happened in my public speaking career. Never. So I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. First of all, I was getting text. I have my phone here. I was getting text to make sure that everybody understood what it is that we're talking about. So the design, the conversation that we're having today is a consideration, another way of structuring health insurance by focusing on health care. And it is not, again, that we're making a hospital seem like the bad guy. Or even, you've heard the term BUCA today. You might be wondering what that means. Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, Humana. It's kind of the acronym those of us that are nerds in the business talk about the normal way. I don't even think anybody wakes up in the morning purposefully trying to create the mess that we're in. It goes back to my first statement. Healthcare isn't broken. It's just designed wrong. And if there's a major theme that you take from today, it's over half of our nation gets their health care from employers. I'm not trying to tackle Washington. That's a whole nother beast. Did you know that the healthcare industry lobbies more than the oil and defense combined? So if we think that the government is going to come in, and I'm not, whether you're red or blue or green or purple, it doesn't matter. The reality of it is everybody in this room is a key stakeholder of fixing this. Could you imagine? I got to spend an hour with Mr. Rosen the other day, and in his quick math, he's like, if we save $500 million, could you imagine if every employer took a focus on that money, what we could do to our debt, what we could do to our GDP, what we can invest in innovation and all of the other things that we waste money in by continuing to hit the easy button. So I want to leave you with some key thoughts. Legacy. I often get asked, hey, what's my big goal in life? If I could have half the legacy that Mr. Rosen has, I would be super grateful. But the reality of it is everybody in this room has an opportunity to put their stamp on legacy. The reality of it is before you got into this room, you might have never heard what is possible. And if there's anything that we did today is hopefully, and if you didn't get pumped up after Kenneth, check your pulse. We've got some doctors here. But the reality of it is I hope that we gave you some hope. You heard courage. You heard hope. But it's going to take switching that mindset from this is a task or this is something that I have to do to this is part of something that I want to be a part of. We've heard the word community, we've heard the word movement, and by golly, that is exactly what it is. But it's all with the focus of taking something that is so personal to each and every one of us and making it part of our mission going forward of building that legacy. Innovation. Rosen, Second Harvest, other employers are doing this from as little, our smallest client is 9 employees. So I don't want to hear hey, I can't do it, it's too, we're not Rosen. The reality of it is the innovation of every aspect of health care and health insurance has evolved to the place that this is obtainable. So whether legacy in that conversation of big picture pie in the sky interests you in any way, shape, or form, or if you want to switch it and say, I am no longer going to be part of the problem. I don't care which angle you either run towards something or run away from something. Whichever direction you're running, just understand that the innovation is there, that if we just switch how it is that we're thinking about this to health care versus worrying about what is my renewal and having this conversation 1 month before you renew, it's a big deal. And the reason we're all here, I don't think that there's a person that is in this room right now that didn't hear the stories, see the videos, talk about what they read, and the first thing you didn't think was, man, that's awesome. The ability to impact a human life is what I want you to really leave from, because it sounds like a big pie in the sky conversation, but the reality of it is, if you focus on impacting that life, the cost comes with it. The quality comes with it. Turnover at 15% when you're a hospitality organization. Tenure longer than some people have been in the live. Most of these Rosen folks have worked here. So the reality of it is, it's a huge deal. So in this conversation, so if you're not a QR code, if you have a cell phone and it's a smartphone, pick up your phone and scan this. If you would like to, continue to get the information around what it is that Rosen Health will be doing, the impact that we're going to have on this and other communities. If you're not a smartphone person, there is a sheet that is on your desk, on your table right now. You could fill out this information. The bribery is, if you fill this out and show us, I'm going to give you your book. The reality of it is, fill this out. And the other thing, if you are an employer and you're like, hey, I want to see how this could impact us, we can provide you with an impact analysis. These things have been proven. There's plenty of stories. There's plenty of data to understand. When an employer does this, this is the impact that is made not only for them, but for their employees as well. If you're just somebody that says, this is cool, I want to continue to be part of the movement, also put your data in. We will not spam you. We're not going to sell your phone number. This is all about creating that movement. Why should you care? So depending on who you are, depending on what walk of life you are, depending on what position you are in within your organization, the why you should care is different. So for all of us here, just understand, nearly 20% of our GDP in the United States, more than any other developed nation, is spent on healthcare. But we're not living longer. People aren't happier. People aren't healthier. So whether it's completely macro and that motivates you, just understand it's not going to change unless we change it. If you're an employer, what you call premium, the current model calls revenue. We're not changing that. You spend nearly 60 to 70 cents on the dollar on your human capital, on your people. Those are the people that are driving the results in your organization. Those are the people that are creating the widgets, that are making the beds, that are saying, good morning, Mr. Morales, welcome to Rosen. The reality of it is, you spend so much time, so much effort, so much pain in the rear of offering health care to yet spend so much money and people not to like it. That is the definition of insanity, is to continue to do that. The bigger part, employees can't afford it. The cost of gas, the cost of milk, the cost of a one-bedroom being $1,500. I heard that stat. I'm like, goodness gracious. The reality of it is, the current model isn't going to get us to a place where the average person can afford to use their plan. Is that what we set out to accomplish? The reality of it is, people can't afford it, and everybody in this room can drive some of it. We're in an inflationary time period. If you look at the only thing that has gone up, well, no, it's at the top of the list. It doesn't have to be this way. And if you want to make it truly personal, the reality of it is, there are people suffering every day. There are people that are filing bankruptcy. There are people that are confused. There are people that don't understand how to access healthcare. And if we just put them in a model that allows those barriers to come down, that allows the focus to be on the consumer of healthcare, that aligns the interest between the people that are paying the healthcare and the people that are funding the healthcare and the people that are delivering the healthcare, if we just put those people on the same side of the table, this isn't a I win and you lose situation. This is, if we win together, everybody wins. And that's been proven time in and time again. So the call to action, the mission, the pledge that you guys all stood up and said is, hey, I see how many people were standing up next to me. I see how many people have known somebody that have struggled financially, fear in the sick care model. The reality of it is, like our buddy Peter Parker, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And the responsibility that I am leaving you all with today, that I hope that you leave here with, is knowledge is power. And I hope that if there is anything that you took from today, is that the reality of a new model impacts everybody sitting around this room, and that you left here with a little bit more knowledge, and that you have the courage, you have the power, and you have the responsibility to help us change healthcare. I appreciate everybody for making the time, and I just thank you for helping us expand Mr. Rosen's legacy and impact everybody. Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry with Lester Morales. Remember, the journey to getting 20% savings on your healthcare benefits starts with total transparency. Remember to subscribe to the Impact Healthcare podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.